Now we come to the strangest dwarven race I have encountered or heard of in all the worlds and in all the universes, the Urdunnir. The name is said to mean ore cutter in their own dialect of Dwarvish, which, as I said, was devised and handed down to the Dwarves of Toril, the way whose dule was handed down to us by Mahal. Unlike the language of the wild dwarves, however, the language of the Urdunnir is still the Dwarvish of Toril, and also unlike the wild dwarves, the tongue spoken by the Urdunnir is clear and sharp, brilliant, lofty, if you will, and so it's more of a refinement than a debasement. Like their language, the Urdunnir are in some respects a refined aspect of dwarvenhood. They were created by Dumathoin, who is the son of Moradin and the patron god of the shield dwarves of Toril. When Dumathoin created the Urdunnir, he made them from shield dwarves living in Shanatar, a dwarven city kingdom founded by Tar Kshanat, the dwarf who was also known as the Crusader, and whom I've talked about before, who'd led the forebears of the shield dwarves into exile. The Urdunnir they look very much like gold dwarves, and so it seems that is the original appearance of dwarves on Toril when their version of Mahal made them. Though they were made out of shield dwarves, the Urdunnir seem to have reverted to their gold dwarven origin. There are important differences, however. Their skin, hair, and beards are stone grey, their hair and beards darker than their skin, and they have eyes ranging from mithril to silver. Males have beards while females do not, and their men groom their beards more than the men of any other dwarven race I've ever laid my eyes on. They braid them and adorn them with rings and all manner of other trinkets. The hair on their heads they groom also, but not to the same degree, and they do not braid it, and nor do their women. All their hair, both their beards and that on their crowns, is straight, both that of their men and of their women folk. Now we come to the strangest things about them. What are? For one, they move through solid rock as if it were air. All they wear and all their belongings that they carry with them in this manner, through the rock. Also they can mould stone and metal with their bare hands, as if they were moulding clay. Finally, they don't eat roast boar or drink mead like any other dwarf. Nay, they feed on gems taken from the earth and drink water. Water, da? You must be joking. No, son. All that I have told ye is nothing but the absolute truth. Water. As Mahal is my witness. As for the gems they consume, it is said Dumathoin provided each of their holds with an ore of self-replenishing gems that would magically regrow one's mind. The Urdunnir settlements are ruled by Aelids, which means gold lords in their tongue, and who wield even greater power to mould and shape metal than their subjects. Like most other dwarves, the Urdunnir have clans, and each clan is dedicated to the shaping of a specific mineral and named after that mineral. Marble, gold, ruby, sapphire, diamond, and others. These dwarves wear clothing and footwear made up only of fluid stone and metal. Their leaders among only wear metal. And so neither needle nor thread, nor any textile, be it wool, silk, linen, or velvet, has any use or need in their society, nor do they use wood or leather. Their stone and metal garments appear as simple one-piece tunics. It is said that their people is especially blessed by their god, Dumathoin, and given their unique abilities. Who can doubt them? Well, those are all the good dwarven races of Toril, but unlike Arda, that world has a race of wicked dwarves. I am here not counting the petty dwarves, which I'll tell you more about in a jiffy. Those evil dwarves are called the Duergar, and their very existence is a scourge upon all other dwarves, almost as bad as that of the orcs. The Duergar are also known as dark dwarves on account of their nature, grey dwarves on account of their appearance, under dwarves on account of living in the Underdark of Toril, which I'll tell you about in a minute, and the Uhubrin, which is their own name for themselves. The Underdark of Toril is a vast network of caverns, caves, tunnels, and crannies, some but not all of it interconnected. There are enormous kingdoms of all manner of creatures there, most of them evil, though the shield dwarfs here also keep and potently defend their hold of Ilkazar, the only remaining sub-kingdom of Shanatar. The rest of the great dwarf kingdom of Shanatar has been destroyed, the parts of it below ground, also called Deep Shanatar, specifically by the Duergar, who are in fact dwarvish kingsmen to the shield dwarfs who once dwelt there. The Duergar were created when their sub-kingdom in Shanatar, known as Barukir, was cut off from the rest of Shanatar by the race called the Illithids, or Mind Flayers, that exist on Toril and many worlds besides, and those dwarves were conquered and enslaved by the Mind Flayers. Mind Flayers have a head that looks much like a squid, but you don't know what that is either, so I'll try to explain it to you. Think of a snail without its carapace, and that the snail is round and head-shaped, but that instead of a beard, there are strands of gooey flesh protruding from its chin, like the eye stalks of the snail. These are called tentacles, and instead of a mouth, there's a beak where the mouth should be, a beak like a bird's. Da, you're not having me on, are you? I swear by Mahal, my son, 'tis all true. Anyway, these mind flayers started controlling the minds of the enslaved clan Duergar, which was the name of the captured clan that ruled the now isolated sub-kingdom, by putting wee worms on their eyes that crawled into their brains, and by other means, magic and something called psionics, which are things like magic, only non-magical and controlled by the mind. Anyway, I'll explain all of that to you on a different occasion. The point is that the minds of Clan Duergar were completely controlled by the Mind Flayers, and over time the skin, eye and hair colour and many other aspects besides of those formerly normal-looking shield dwarves began to shift and mutate. Their skin turned from a healthy complexion to a dull grey. So did their hair and beards, though a slightly darker grey than their skin. Their womenfolk lost their beards altogether, so that no nary a Duergar woman can grow a beard. But both most of their men, most of their women lost the hair on their heads, never to regrow, which is why finding a Duergar man or woman with hair atop his or her crown today is very rare. The colour of their hair and beards does not change. But besides this, they display all the other signs of aging when growing older. They are much more slender than other dwarves, and none of their number ever grows fat. The Duergar are dictatorial, stern to the point of grimness, but they are as industrious as all other of us dwarves. You know, some of our number in the Longbeards can be pessimistic, but it's nothing in comparison to the Duergar of Toril. With them it's all doom and gloom. Not that in some ways they don't have reason to. Remember, their minds and all their actions were completely controlled for centuries by those mind flayers, the Illithids. With most other dwarves, you can expect a hearty laugh and a slap on the back, But with these Duergar, you're more likely to get a spiteful chuckle and a knife in the back. They even pride themselves for their lack of emotion and think the rest of us are pampered, lily-livered weaklings because we enjoy the comforts of our toil and will sometimes allow that to make us merry. And the fact of the matter is that the Duergar are, as a whole, a brave people, unlike goblins and other subterranean races of their ilk. They're also slaves to gold sickness, every one of them, and in the getting of it, they are more than willing to resort to fighting. Couple that with no feeling of empathy, nor guilty conscience, and you've got the Duergar personality perfectly figured out. The only joy they find in their world besides riches is the crude and simple pleasure they derive from bullying and tormenting others with cruel jokes and stiff blows, and always those weaker than themselves, as they never strike those that are mighty. Now, like the orcs, the Duergar are not bad craftsmen, much better in fact than orcs. They are dwarvish, after all, but like orcs, they concern themselves only with utility and never the beauty of an object. They're not as good as our other dwarves, because all they care about is producing a great quantity of their wares so that they can sell those to other Torilian races to satisfy their greed for profit. The Duergar live in the mountains' roots, often near volcanoes. Like other dwarves, they are highly resistant to heat and cold. They have, since their experience with the mind flayers, become immune to paralysis, phantasms, alchemical poisons, and some types of illusion, techniques the mind flayers used to control them. 'Tis said the nearness to the mind flayers even made the Duergar develop psionics of their own. It is said that the Duergar often ferment fire lichen into alcohol and create a hot and spicy drink with it. In this, they are also unlike most other dwarves, for they like spicy food and drink almost as much as the northern Haradrim men here in Middle-earth. The Duergar speak their Duergan dialect of Dwarvish, and thus they speak the divine language handed down to them from the Maker, from Moradin, which has not yet become a separate tongue like that of the wild dwarves, but their language has become coarse, raspy, and uncouth, much influenced by that of the Illithids, the mind flayers, and that of the drow or dark elves of Toril, who are not generally good like the dark elves of Arda, but wicked creatures I'll tell you about some other time. There is also a common tongue in those far reaches of the Underdark of Toril, like the common tongue of Westron here in Middle-earth. Like there is a common tongue the surface dwellers of different cultures and native languages use on Toril, though this undercommon has shared many words of Drow, Elvish, and Illithid, and has itself drifted into Duergan Dwarvish, and has shared words to other languages besides. But now the Duergan Dwarvish has become a hodgepodge of different words, pronunciations, and influences, raw and callous in tone, and unkind to the throat, in my opinion, in all its harshness. Well, those are the dwarven races of Toril,